Welcome to Wisdom Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2853 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. The title for today's Wisdom Trek is The Song of Ascent, the Guardian Who Never Sleeps. In our previous episode on this grand expedition, we took our very first steps onto the ancient pilgrim trail. We opened the collection known as the Songs of Ascents, beginning with Psalm 120. There, we felt the suffocating exhaustion of living among deceitful people, dwelling in the hostile, spiritual wastelands of Meshech and Kedar. We realized that true peace, true biblical shalom, cannot be found by negotiating with the empire of lies. That painful realization served as the ultimate catalyst for our journey. We packed our bags, left our tents in the chaotic lowlands, and began our steep, deliberate ascent toward Jerusalem, seeking the presence of the true King. Today, we take our next determined strides up the mountain pass. We are exploring the second song in this pilgrim collection, Psalm 121, verses 1 through 8 in the New Living Translation. As the traveler leaves the safety of his home and steps out onto the dangerous open road, a profound sense of vulnerability sets in. The journey is long, the terrain is treacherous, and the wilderness is infested with bandits, predators, and dark spiritual forces. To survive the ascent, the pilgrim needs absolute assurance that he is not walking alone. Let us step onto the trail, lift our eyes to the horizon, and meet the guardian of our souls. Psalm 121. Verses 1 and 2. I look up to the mountains. Does my help come from there? My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. The psalm opens with one of the most iconic yet frequently misunderstood questions in all of Scripture. I look up to the mountains. Does my help come from there? In our modern, romanticized view of nature, we often read this verse and think the psalmist is drawing peace from the majestic beauty of the mountain peaks. We imagine a serene, snow-capped range inspiring a sense of divine comfort. But to the ancient Israelite mind, the mountains were deeply intimidating and spiritually contested territory. Physically, the mountains were where the bandits hid. They were the places of ambush, rock slides, and wild beasts. But more importantly, we must view this through the lens of the divine council worldview. In the ancient Near East, the high places, the peaks of the mountains, were universally recognized as the dwelling places of the gods. The rebel spiritual principalities, the fallen Elohim of the disinherited nations, demanded worship on the high places. The Canaanites built their altars to Baal and their shrines to Asherah on the elevated hills. Therefore, as the weary pilgrim looks up at the towering, shadow-filled mountains surrounding the road to Jerusalem, he is acknowledging a profound temptation. The pagan culture whispers, "The journey is too hard. The road is too dangerous. Why don't you stop at this local shrine? Why don't you offer a quick sacrifice to the gods of these hills, just to ensure your safe passage?" The psalmist asks the question, does my help come from there? And he answers it with a resounding cosmic rejection of the rebel gods. My help comes from the Lord, who made heaven and earth. He completely bypasses the localized, lesser deities of the hills. He declares that he will not seek protection from the dark powers that claim jurisdiction over the mountains. Instead, he appeals directly to Yahweh, the supreme architect, who actually created the dirt, the rocks, and the sheer cliffs of those very mountains. Why would he beg for help from a created rebel spirit when he has direct access to the uncreated maker of the entire cosmos? His help is anchored not in the terrain, but in the creator of the terrain. Psalm 121. Verses 3 and 4. He will not let you stumble. The one who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel never slumbers or sleeps. Having established the identity of his helper, the psalmist begins to sing an anthem of profound assurance over his own soul and over the souls of his fellow travelers. He promises, he will not let you stumble. On a steep, rocky, and unpaved mountain trail, a single stumble could mean a sprained ankle, a broken leg, or a fatal fall into a ravine. A stumble meant you became easy prey. But the psalmist assures us that the Creator is actively involved in the micro movements of our lives. Yahweh is not a distant clockmaker God who wound up the universe and walked away. He is intimately engaged, ensuring that our feet find solid purchase on the treacherous path of obedience. And why is God's protection so flawless? Because the one who watches over you will not slumber. Indeed, he who watches over Israel never slumbers or sleeps. In this beautiful repetition, the psalmist draws a sharp, mocking contrast between the God of Israel and the false gods of the surrounding nations. In pagan mythology, the gods were fundamentally limited. They got tired, they needed to eat, and they needed to sleep. If you remember the story of Elijah on Mount Carmel, he famously mocked the prophets of Baal when their God failed to send fire. Elijah taunted them, saying, "Perhaps he is deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and needs to be awakened." A sleeping God is a useless God. If your deity takes a nap, you are entirely vulnerable to the chaotic forces of the world. But the commander of the heavenly armies does not experience fatigue. He does not require a night watchman to relieve him of his post. Because Yahweh never closes his eyes, the pilgrim can safely close his. In a world fraught with nocturnal terrors and dark spiritual forces that prowl in the night, the absolute, unbroken vigilance of the Creator is our ultimate source of rest. Psalm 121, verses 5 and 6. The Lord himself watches over you. The Lord stands beside you as your protective shade. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. The promises of protection become even more intimate and incredibly specific. The Lord himself watches over you. The Lord stands beside you as your protective shade. The Hebrew word used repeatedly throughout this psalm for watches over or keeps is shamar. It means to guard, to protect, to build a hedge around, or to carefully attend to. The psalmist is emphasizing that Yahweh does not delegate your ultimate security to a lower-ranking angel. The Lord himself is your personal bodyguard. He stands at your right hand, which was the traditional position of a military defender, holding a shield to protect a warrior's exposed side. He acts as a protective shade. In the scorching, relentless heat of the Middle Eastern desert, shade was not just a luxury, it was a matter of life and death. But once again, we must read verse 6 through the eyes of the ancient cosmic worldview. The sun will not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. To the surrounding pagan cultures, the sun and the moon were not just celestial bodies, they were powerful, ruling deities. Shamash was the Babylonian sun god, representing blistering, judging heat. Yari, or Sin, was the moon god, often associated with the terrors of the night, madness, and disease. When the psalmist declares that the sun and the moon will not harm you, he is making a massive theological claim. He is stating that Yahweh exercises absolute sovereignty over the celestial realm. The rebel gods of the sky have been stripped of their power to destroy the faithful exile. The oppressive, scorching trials of the daytime cannot break you, and the creeping, psychological terrors of the moonlight cannot drive you to despair. The Lord, your protective shade, completely neutralizes the most powerful, threatening elements of the natural and supernatural world. Psalm 121, verses 7 and 8. The Lord keeps you from all harm and watches over your life. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and go, both now and forever. The psalm reaches its crescendo with a sweeping, comprehensive guarantee of divine preservation. The Lord keeps you from all harm and watches over your life. We must be careful to understand this promise correctly. The Bible never promises the believer a pain-free existence. The pilgrim walking to Jerusalem will still get blisters on his feet. He will still face storms, fatigue, and the natural pains of a fallen world. So, what does it mean that the Lord keeps us from all harm? The key is in the second half of the phrase, and watches over your life. The Hebrew word for life is nephesh, which refers to your inner being, your soul, the very core of your existence. The physical body may endure hardship, the earthly bank account may suffer loss, and the temporary circumstances may be deeply painful. But the nephesh, the eternal essence of who you are, is utterly untouchable by the kingdom of darkness. The rebel gods can harass you, but they cannot consume your soul, because it is held securely within the unyielding grip of the Creator. The final blessing extends this protection across all of time and all of space. The Lord keeps watch over you as you come and go, both now and forever. In ancient cities, the city gate was the place of transition. It was where you left the safety of the walls and entered the vulnerability of the open road. Your coming and going represented the totality of your daily activities, your business dealings, your travels, and your transitions from one season of life to the next. The psalmist promises that Yahweh stands at the portals of your life. He guards the doorways of your daily existence. He watches over your exit from your home, and He watches over your safe return. And this guardianship does not expire when you reach the end of the pilgrim trail. It is valid both now and forever. It stretches across the boundaries of mortality, ensuring that when you finally step through the last doorway of death, the guardian will be right there, guiding you safely into the eternal city of God. Psalm 121, verses 1 through 8, is the ultimate anthem of courage for the weary traveler. It teaches us that when the mountains loom large and the high places of our culture threaten to intimidate us, we must look higher. We must bypass the false gods, the quick fixes, and the cultural compromises, and fix our eyes firmly on the Maker of heaven and earth. As you walk your trek today, internalize the profound, comforting reality of the Shamar, the watchful guard of Yahweh. When the journey is steep, remember that He holds your foot so you will not stumble. When the night is dark, remember that your guardian never slumbers and never sleeps. Do not fear the scorching heat of the day or the hidden terrors of the night, because the sovereign Lord is your protective shade. He guards your nephesh. He watches over your coming and going. Step out onto the trail with absolute confidence, knowing that the God who built the cosmos is walking right beside you today, tomorrow, and forever. If you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us and come along tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, mentor, and most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through this Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom.